Hello, everybody. Welcome to my show, A Conversation with Patrick. Well, tonight I have a very special guest, someone who I have respected and who I have known for a very long time. She's won British Hairdresser of the Year twice, and she's even been awarded one of the most prestigious awards, an MBE, for her services to British hairdressing. I think her success truly is in her passion for education. Her motto is education is a gift, creativity is a gift, and it's a gift that has to be shared. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Truly, I think her success is down to her beautiful smile and incredibly sparkling eyes. I would like to welcome to my show tonight Miss Beverly C. Hi, Beverly.
Hello, Patrick. Lovely introduction. Thank you so much for that.
Well, no, Beverly, it's true. It's really, I was thinking about it just before we started the show. And I think people always say to me, Patrick, you're so nice, you're so funny and all these things. And I think you're my female, very beautiful, much more beautiful equivalent of me. And I think you and I are almost cut from the same cloth, dare I say.
Do you know, I take that as a massive, massive compliment. Thank you for that. You know what, you've got to, it doesn't matter what you achieve in life, and the ups and downs towards that. You still have to be, grateful to, you have to remember the journey you've been on and just, be yourself.
Well, I think that's right. But, I'm going to start off on something that you and I have absolutely in common. And you may not know this. And I think a lot of our viewers don't know this. But I also don't drink alcohol. And here's my alcohol of choice, a cup of tea. And I think, Beverly, that's you as well, isn't it? Oh my God. I'm sure like me, you've been in so many situations around the world where to drink alcohol is a cultural thing. And they look at you sideways because you won't have a vodka or a something.
Well, you've traveled all over the world and still do, as I do as well. And there are so many times when it, just have to give, and I'm like, I don't drink, just give me a glass of water. And they look at me like I'm crazy, but I never have drunk. I'm an alcoholic in the kitchen. I might say that. Love to pour it into the food. But apart from that, no, I don't touch it.
I should imagine the kitchen in your home is the absolute epicenter of your home, because I find you one of the most, you're so caring, you're so you want to share and you want to make people happy. So I can imagine, Beverly, you're a pretty good cook.
Oh yeah, I'd like to think I am. But yes, Christmas in this house, this is my kitchen. 26 of us every year, and I'm always the one that's cooking. And what I'm not very good at, Patrick, is having people help me do it. I like to just do it myself and keep everyone away from the island in the kitchen. But I love it. I do love it.
But, cooking for that many people, it's about juggling times, isn't it? Making sure that everything's ready at the same time. Beverly, a lot of people probably don't know this, but I know that you have 3 beautiful daughters. I know a lot of people know Jordana. And, of course, I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to be speaking to Jordana next week. But tell us about your family.
I have 3 beautiful girls. And I have Natasha, who's 33 now, and she's doing really well. She works within charity organisations for shelter. Jordana, as you know, is part of the company Goldwell now and is, really beginning to take over, and I'm so proud of her. And my youngest, Alex, is a school teacher and amazing at it. So I'm very proud. They're all doing really well in their professions. But more to the point, they love what they do, which is to me more important than anything.
So, I think that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate, isn't it? But all 3 girls tend to be in professions where they're helping people, they're caring for people, whether you're a teacher, whether you work for a charity, or indeed Jordana working in the salon. So they obviously get that empathy from you.
I'd like to think so, yes.
I think so. I
That
think
would
so.
be
And of
nice.
course,
Nice
I've met
legacy.
Jordana, and she's like you. She's got those sort of eyes that just, just sparkling eyes that just sort of, I don't know, they disarm everything, I think. And you should be a very proud mum, a very proud mum for
I am.
that.
I'm very proud, actually, of all my girls. And
Yeah.
I'm so proud of the way they have, in a way, the way they've planned out their careers and the way they're sort of
Mm.
grabbing it with both hands, which is,
Mhm.
some people are in professions they don't like. So I think it's very important that they've managed to find their vocation, which I think is great for them. So they're all very happy.
And was that something right from the very beginning that you wanted to instill in the girls? Happiness, finding a happiness in what you do?
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes when you're taking your children through schooling, and there's times when the children aren't happy at school and they're struggling or finding things difficult. I remember Natasha was dyslexic and I didn't realize. And I kept asking the school, and now it's identified like that, but at the time it wasn't. And you go through these periods and you see their self-esteem going. And I just thought, the most important thing is self-esteem, confidence, and inner belief, more than the education that they were getting. And that taught me a big lesson with the kids, actually, that they have to do something that they love doing. You're at work half of your life, you have to enjoy it. And, you've been in hairdressing, I've been in hairdressing 40 years in next year. And I still love it now as I did then. So can only imagine what it's like to be in a profession you don't like. It must be awful. Must be
What do
really
you think?
bad.
What do you think the key is to a good educator, a great educator? What do you think that key is?
I think the key for a good educator, and this was taught to me I had a mentor that taught me when I was 18. And his name was Franklin Massahood, and he worked at Morris Masterclass.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, to this day, he's like God to me. And we often meet up, actually, and I love him to bits. And what he taught me was educate. My motto is about knowledge is a gift and a gift that should be shared. Is that you have to simplify it, but you have to give everything. Don't half give something to somebody. You have to break it down, make it uncomplicated instead of complicated, and be able to sort of pass that knowledge on. And I work with Goldwell, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, but I go and do a lot of teaching in salons. So I'll go to a salon for Goldwell and I'll spend the entire day there. So you're working with hairdressers that have been hairdressing for 20 years, some only for 2 years, some 5 years. Everyone has a little niche. Everyone has something they're comfortable with, and other people have things that they're not comfortable with. So you've got to try to adjust to everybody. And I think if you can do that and come away from that knowing that every single person that you've come across that day has learnt something and you've made a difference to their career, is something that I still get a buzz out of even now. I just love doing it.
Yeah,
It's
and
my
I think
favorite
really
thing.
it's about disarming people, isn't it? Because you're
Yeah.
not there to tell them that what they're doing is rubbish. You're not there to tell them that what they're doing is wrong. What you're
Yeah.
trying to do is say, hey, listen, for a little bit of time, come on my journey, come on my bus. I'm going to share with you, and you can put that in with what you know, but you can leave what you don't want and take what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I always like to try and find out where people are, feel less confident about an area of color or cutting, something they struggle with. And then I would like to take that. And I love to take people out of their comfort zones. And I tell you why, because so many of us, if you're in a salon environment every day, we get to a comfort zone with our work and we don't deviate from that because it's, in a way, it's the unknown, or you don't feel quite confident to do it. So whenever I do a class, no matter how small or large, I'll always say, right, guys, I am taking you out of your comfort zone today because I want you to go back with something that you would never normally do because you're too scared to do it. And that's what I love. I just love it, Patrick. And I love it at the end of the day when people say, wow, I learned so much today. And I love that. And I know you do too, because I
Well,
see it.
I think hopefully, God willing, your careers are for a long time. And if you can learn one thing in the day, then it's made the whole entire thing worthwhile, hasn't it? It's not about the mass. It's not about the whole entire thing. It's about taking things from it that are important to them.
Oh, absolutely, and I still love doing that. And I know this. I watch your shows, Patrick. I'm going to interview you now.
I would love that. I'm
going to listen. All these interviews. I'm going to interview you next time. But I see people watching your shows, and they see things that are magical because there's things they've never seen before or they've never tried before. And I think that's one of the things that's so amazing about hairdressing globally now, that we share and we are there, and so many educators across the world
Yeah.
are there to share their ideas to keep the standards of our industry right up there, which is what we
Beverly, with COVID, with all the things that have been going
want.
on, so many people are reevaluating their lives. So many hairdressers are looking at the work-life balance. They're looking at different aspects of the industry. What would be your advice if a hairdresser said, I want to get involved in education, I want to start doing different things? What would you say to them?
I would say you've got to follow that dream, to be honest. And I think if you want to go into an educational level, you can do that within your own company. If it's the right sort of company to do that, you can do that within your own salon, no matter how small it is. You can become the main educator for all your apprentices and use that as a base to start to work towards education, and then work alongside your manufacturer to take it further. But education, the commitment of that is immense, but it's a very rewarding thing. It's my youngest is a teacher, and she's teaching every day, but every day she'll come back rewarded knowing she's made a difference to the kids. So that's what I love about it. But I think you must go into it and commit to it, because it's quite a journey. But it's a wonderful thing to be able to. I feel privileged that I'm in a position that I've been able to teach for the last 40 years, I guess.
Now, Beverly, I hope that's not Gary pining for you. I've got a funny feeling
Do you know what it
there's a
is?
little fluffy doggy underneath you there.
There is. My dog, my little toy poodle, is standing next to me because I've got a cup of tea, and she loves to have a little bit of tea. So I'm going to have to give it to her in a minute to shut her up, to be honest. 1 sec.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beverly C has just disappeared to feed her poodle.
There we go. Done.
I love that. I love it. Now, you mentioned earlier, first of all, just before we leave that, I absolutely love your point, Beverly, about, if you want to be an educator or you want to be one of these sorts of people, I love that point. No matter how small the salon or how big, start training there. Start learning the skills, isn't it? It's learning the skills of communication. That's the secret. To be a great educator, you've got to be able to communicate and share your passion.
Yes. And it's about, sometimes, when you first start to get into education, depending on how you were taught yourself, you start to then teach it and realize that actually sometimes we do things without thinking, and having to explain that, really to dissect the techniques into different categories. But it really is, it's a lovely thing to do. And I think every salon actually should have their main educator within the salon.
I think that's a great idea.
I think it really does work amazingly.
I like that. Now, you also mentioned, I know that you're a global ambassador for Goldwell, and you also are very involved with Babyliss as well. So tell us a little bit about the duality of that.
Right. Well, I've worked alongside Babyliss for many, 25 years, actually. So I've worked with Beverly as one of their ambassadors the last 20 years now. And I've worked very closely with them as a company, not just on the consumer side, but on the pro side as well. So I've done a lot of background behind the scenes work with them. as far as, you know, working and creating all their looks for their packaging for the pro brand as well as the consumer brand. And then now I tend to work more with a consumer brand. That's how it's evolved. They are an incredible company to work for, and
Well,
I've
I know
loved
them
working.
well. Of course, I know them
Yeah,
well
do you
because
know?
I've been involved with them as well for many, many years,
Yes, you
and
have.
I've seen your work and I've seen what you're doing. So I know that they're also a very generous company. You
Yeah,
know,
they are.
they
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 are.
are, aren't they? I like them a
Yeah.
great deal, a great
They,
deal.
their research and development is
Yeah,
incredible. Their products are second to none, honestly.
yeah.
And it's been a privilege working with them all these years. I still work with them now. Do a lot of work with them on QVC actually.
Well,
So
we're
yeah,
gonna
that's
we're gonna talk about that in a second. But
yeah,
before we do that,
yeah,
just bring us over to Goldwell as well, because
yeah.
I know that you're busy with that.
Yes, I'm busy with that. I've been with Goldwell now for goodness, 13 years, I think it is, which is amazing. And I went over to Goldwell. I've never jumped from one manufacturer to
Mm.
another. I've always spent a long time with a manufacturer, and Goldwell approached me sort of 13 years ago, and I spent a couple of days with them in the academy, which was in Sackville Street at the time. And I was absolutely blown away with the color palette. You know, a lot of people don't realize that haven't worked with Goldwell, let's say, don't realize the color palette they do have. They have products I've never seen before.
Mm, mm,
They've got products that no other manufacturer has.
mm.
Their research and development is unbelievable. And you know what? Every year they come out with something else which is mind blowing. So I have learnt so much about color from them, more than I have with any other company, because of the color palette that they have.
Yeah.
It's really quite something. So I've
And
worked
also
with them.
too, also, isn't it, Beverly? You yourself, and this is a really
Yeah,
personal thing, you
yeah.
yourself have to believe in the product, don't you?
Oh yeah.
So you're not that person that's just all about front. It
No, no,
has to
no.
go into your soul for you to sell it, don't
Yeah.
you? Doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't go up on stage and lie. I can't go on TV and
Yeah,
lie. You know, when I'm doing
yeah,
QVC, I totally believe in the
yeah,
product, and you have to be 100% behind it. So I've worked alongside them. I do all their courses in the academy. I've
yeah.
been doing online training in lockdown. So we've been doing all my courses. I did a razor cutting course 2 days ago. So there's a lot going on, and
There's a
they
lot
are
going on,
really
and I also
fantastic
know.
company.
Yeah, and I also know that today was an incredibly busy day because QVC really makes up quite a big part of what you do as well. So just talk
Yes.
us through that very quickly. How long have you been involved with them?
For QVC, I've been doing QVC for probably about 18 years now. So
Yep.
I'm part of the furniture now. So, but it's lovely because I go there and I'll go off to QVC. They used to be in Battersea, now they're in Chiswick. Their setup is quite something,
Yes.
and I will go there for Babyliss, and I've spent so much time up there. I do so many different live programs for them. When you first do a QVC live, it's really different, and a lot of people in the industry have gone on to QVC. They know I'm there and part of the furniture, and they phone me up and they go, "What's it like? What? Give me some, give me some tips on how to approach it." But it's a really different type of
Mm,
thing to do. But I've
mm.
loved it. I do love doing it. And I did one actually this morning from the kitchen rather than from the studio. But that was quite interesting. But I've loved working at QVC. It's good
Do,
fun.
do you think it's the spontaneity that you really enjoy possibly the most? I mean, the products are great,
Mm.
everything's
Yeah,
great, but do you enjoy thinking on your feet?
I do. I do, because every time you go on live, first of all, it's like there is no delay,
Yep.
everybody. Trust me, there's no delay. Every time you go on live, you're working with a different presenter, maybe a different model. You've got to be on the ball and be able to, you know, if something goes wrong, you've got to be able to come through
Mm,
that.
mm,
And then also look at how to project that over to
mm,
the
mm,
consumer.
mm,
Um, as hairdressers, listen, we
mm.
cut hair, we do all these wonderful colours in the salon. we want our clients to look good for the 6 or 8 weeks before they come back. And that's one of the things about Fabulous. When I've been on QVC, we've sold thousands and thousands of products
You know,
because they do work. They work.
They do. They're amazing. They work. And when you do work like this, and I know myself over the years when I've done television, I know that you were involved in Style Challenge all those years ago. But I remember on a lot of things that I do live, and I've done a lot of things around the world, you know, all of a sudden you're talking about volume and you're talking about something exciting and you've got an appliance and you're going to use it, and then you go and use it. And of course, the hair responds in a way that you weren't expecting it. It might be the humidity, it might be whatever. And all of a sudden you've got the most anti-volume hairstyle that you could possibly wish for, and you've been bigging it up about all volume. Of course, for me, I mean, I can literally get my hands into it and turn it into an updo. But these are hilarious times, aren't they, Beverly? When something goes so wrong.
Oh yeah, it can go wrong. It can go wrong, and especially as when I'm doing QVC, I don't actually demonstrate it. The models demonstrate it for me. So I'll teach them, but then, you know, the electrics could go, or I don't know, somebody drops it in the middle of the shoot and breaks it. So you've got to try and crawl under the seat and give her another one, and all this sort of, or there's stuff that goes on. It's quite funny, but yeah.
But I think also this is where your humor comes in, because I know one of the things I know about you the most, you love to laugh. You love to laugh.
I do love to laugh. And I did a show this quite a while ago. This is totally off piste here now. I did a show a long time ago in Italy, and there was 3 models up there. My model was in the middle. I'd done this amazing long hair editorial sort of look, and I wanted this sort of almost like big sort of quiff thing at the front. It was really beautiful with all hair pieces out, and I was so into it, Patrick, and she was so tall as well. I was so into this look, and I stood her up and took her gown off, and just about to leave the stage with the other hairdressers, and the music was about to start because it was a massive show with 2,500 people in it. And I suddenly looked up at her. She's like 6 foot whatever, and I'm 5 foot nothing. So I looked up to her, and I could see this Velcro roller in the top of her head. Left it in there. And so the music started, and I just went, cut, like they stopped the music. And I stopped the music, and I just beckoned her to sit down, and I pointed at the roller to the audience, and they just fell apart. You know, they fell apart laughing.
Do you know, Beverly, one of the things I love the most when you're performing on stage in front of thousands of people, people love honesty. They love honesty. And when something goes wrong, as long as you're honest, they will go the distance with you.
They would. But one of the things I did say, I took it out and I sort of put this thing in, and I said, you know what? Patrick Cameron would be so upset with me right now. I did say your name when I was up there. Patrick.
Oh, do you know, I must tell you, I had a friend of mine do a show, and she was doing a model, and she did a model on stage, a beautiful model, and she put this hairpiece on. Anyway, the model stood up, the hairpiece fell off, and she was in horror. And the girl picked the hairpiece up like a bouquet and moved on. And I said to her afterwards, I said, why, Louise, did you put one hair grip in the hair? She turned to me and she said, well, Patrick Cameron puts one hair grip in the hair. I thought that was good enough.
Fantastic.
Oh, bless him, bless him. Hey, listen, you've won British Hairdresser of the Year twice, Beverly. And one of the things I was most excited about was the fact it was a woman winning. And I think you've been the first woman to win this title. Is that true?
Yes. I was the first. Actually, Irvin and Rita Rusk won it together as a couple. Amazing couple. They won it together as a couple many, many years before. But yes, I was the first woman on her own to win it. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it must have been an incredible evening. I can only imagine. And then to repeat it again. I mean,
it was the following year. Yeah, following year. And actually, I remember sitting there, and obviously I was so blown away the first time, and I was thinking, you get it 2 times in a row, it's not going to happen. And I had a mouth, because, you know, we drink tea only or coffee. I had a mouthful of coffee. and they announced my name, and I spat it across the table. So yeah,
Oh,
but it was lovely. It was lovely. It was an amazing, the pinnacle of my career. It was something extraordinary. I loved it. Yeah.
it is amazing, isn't it, when we have careers for such a long time, when you have those special standout moments, and
Yeah.
they might be moments that are hugely public, or indeed there may be other moments that are intensely
Yeah.
private, but they
Yes.
become those standout moments for you. And
Mm.
I was so proud of you when you won that, you know. I mean, I
Oh,
truly
thank you.
was. You know,
Thank you so
I've
much.
often said I don't think we see enough women who are leaders in our industry, and
Yeah.
I'm saying this to all the young female hairdressers out there who look to a career similar to yours.
Yeah.
You know, please go for it, because we need
Mm.
amazing, incredibly talented women leading our industry as well.
Oh, we do, and actually, there's some amazing women out in the industry
There
as we
are,
speak
and quite
now.
a few coming up now.
Oh yeah, there's some incredible women in the industry and making a real sort of mark, which is fantastic. I love to see that. But yes, I would love to see them on the British wall a little bit more. And with Sally's been amazing the last
Yeah.
few years. But yeah, it'd be nice to see some of the girls up on that final wall. But the girls are they're strong and they're coming through
No,
really well.
they
So
really are. They really truly are. I see some
yeah,
amazing talent
yeah,
coming through, which is incredible,
yeah.
including your daughter.
Oh yes, yes.
No, it's
Oh
true.
yeah,
Well,
there's
you know that.
yeah,
You know she's going to become a leading light, I think, in the industry. I think
yeah,
you've trained her well. I
yeah,
think that she is in a position and an
yeah.
age to really do some moving and shaking in our industry. So I really look forward to watching Jordana do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And she first decided to go into it, and I spent a long time training with her. And I tried to teach her almost everything I knew, but then I wanted her to go away from that. So I deliberately made her go. She went to Sassoon, she went to loads of different courses everywhere, barber courses, long hair courses, she got all your things. And
Yeah.
I wanted her to experience away from me. And when she started to get into doing stuff for the fellowship and doing all this amazing work, and people beginning to say, oh, Jordana, and I deliberately took a back seat. So I wouldn't turn up to her events. And people were like, where's your mum? And it's almost like I didn't care, but I did.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
deliberately didn't go because I didn't want people to see me at her events.
Yeah.
I wanted her, and she has got her own brand, her own feel of hair. She's amazing, and
Yeah.
very proud of her. Very
And
proud
I
of her.
think that segues beautifully into the fellowship, because of
Yeah.
course you were president of the fellowship for a time.
Oh, was
And
yeah.
yeah, and you've also, I mean, you've been so passionate. I mean, I know I am passionate about the fellowship, but you also have been very encouraging of young talent coming through the fellowship.
Oh yes, I mean, I know the fellowship is incredible. The way they've put together the Fame Team, Project X, and various other things to bring young people through. But when I was president, I actually just won British, so it was a bit of a nightmare because I was trying to sort of juggle those two, and I had the most amazing chairman and vice president at the time, thank goodness, to help me through that. But I've always tried to get involved with the Fame Team wherever I could to give back a little bit more to them, because the fellowship really has and created some amazing names in our
Oh,
industry.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at the stable of names from the
yeah,
fellowship, even
yeah,
people like Errol Douglas
yeah.
and so on. I mean,
Thanks for
really,
that. Yeah,
Umberto, all of these sort of
yeah, yeah,
amazing people. They've done incredibly well with that.
yeah.
So I'm thrilled that you've been so passionate and
Yeah.
continue to be.
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
I
Yeah, I
think.
continue to do it. I think a lot of what I do now is not so much in the forefront. I'm doing a lot of work behind the scenes, which I'm quite happy about. And I
Yeah.
know we had a little chat the other day that I have spent, God, 30 odd, 34 years traveling 4 countries a month at least. I know you've probably travelled, Patrick, more than any other hairdresser, to be honest. But it gets to the point where you just can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
a lot of my work now is European based.
Yep.
and UK based,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm really quite happy for because you can only travel like that for so many years, to be
You know,
honest.
as they've
And
often said, give a busy person something to give a busy person the thing to do, they'll get it done. You know, and
yeah,
you've got to think, you were traveling for 33, 34 years. You were
yeah,
bringing up three amazing daughters. You were going through your business. You were going through your life challenges, as
yeah,
well as launching your own career, running British Hairdresser of the Year. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. But I think something that a lot of people find fascinating, and I think, and
yeah.
I heard you do an interview with Dom Lahane, who I
Oh
absolutely
yes,
adore. Yeah,
yes.
and I think Dom might have taken credit for putting you up for your MBE, but I've got a feeling he might have been telling pork pies. And tell us a little bit about that feeling of getting an
Yeah.
award like that for your contribution to British hairdressing.
Oh, well, when I got that, I had a phone call actually, and this person was on. We're phoning from Downing Street, and she said, "I'm just letting you know that you've been nominated for an MBE through Buckingham Palace and blah blah." And I'm listening. I'm going, yep, yep. And I said, and because I hadn't received the paperwork for it, I said, "Can I just say, is this a wind up?" And she said, "No, no, no, it's just totally true." I said, "Oh," I was absolutely blown away.
Mm.
I got mine the same year as Errol Douglas, so he
Yes.
went up to Buckingham Palace probably a couple of weeks before I did, um, and it's really something. And I took my three girls. You're only allowed three people there.
Oh.
So the three girls came up and sat in the beautiful crown room. It's just amazing up there.
You know,
And I
and
was,
I remember when Errol won his, and
yes,
it was quite monumental because it was really the
mm,
first of its sort for our industry. I think he might have
mhm.
been the first to get an MBE for hairdressing. Is that correct, or had there been
No,
before?
no, that Trevor Sorby has
Oh,
got one, a
of
few other
course,
people actually,
of
a
course,
couple,
of
not
course,
many, not many.
not many.
But yes, it was quite an event, and I was
Mm.
very lucky because it was presented by Her Majesty the Queen,
Yes.
which was lovely. So yeah, it was great. It was an amazing day. I still don't know who put me up for it. I still don't know to this day. I will find out one day, but
Yeah.
whoever it is, I love you. It was great.
Oh,
It
well,
was
I tell you
amazing.
what, it was absolutely well deserved. And just very quickly now, before you go, I want to just ask you a little bit about the whole COVID thing. How are you
Yeah,
coping with this? I mean, like me, my life is almost all but stopped the international side. I know
yeah,
that you're kicking back into your education because you've got Goldwell. They're doing social
yes,
distancing. Everything's becoming a
yeah,
lot more correct in the way we do things. But
yeah.
how's it been for you?
How's it been for me? It was very strange at first, and I mean, I'm not a person, Patrick, that panics about anything.
Yeah.
I don't get uptight. I'm not anxious person at all. The first couple of weeks with COVID, when we started lockdown, actually, I was quite anxious, and felt anxious really that I haven't felt for quite some time because of the unknown of it. And I think, what's going to happen with the salons? What's going to happen with all the education?
But
And
also too, the press were pushing it, things were
yeah,
pumping. I mean, it was almost
yeah, yeah.
apocalyptic, dare I use
It
that
was.
word. It
Yeah, it
almost
was.
had that feeling. And I remember going around the streets at 9 o'clock at night trying to find some eggs,
Yeah,
and things like that on the night
yeah,
before lockdown. So I think,
yeah.
yes, you're absolutely right. I could imagine.
Uh, and it did unnerve me. And then
Mm.
2 weeks in, I just thought, come on, Bev, calm down. Everyone's in the same position. It'll all work itself out. And then I was like, yeah, it will. And then I'm not one to be negative. So I then started to look at the positives that will come out
Mm.
of that and thought, the whole world's come to a standstill, to be honest.
Yep.
Let's just run with this.
Yep.
Let's just take a breather. And I think everyone's had to reevaluate their lives, forget
Mm.
their work
Totally.
lives. Um,
Totally.
but I think if you sit and reevaluate that, and I think it's very important to act on that, and to say, well, actually, I quite like to do this, and I quite like to work from home for a couple of days a week, and you've got to then adjust your life
Mm.
around
Mm.
it.
Mm.
I do feel terribly sad for the industry that you know, a lot of salons are struggling. But I do know that hairdressers are very resilient,
Mm,
and they have a lot of, you know,
mm,
resilience and passion for the industry. And I know they'll come through it. You've just got to have faith
mm,
that
mm,
10 months from now, 12 months from now, we will be in a different position
mm,
than we are
mm,
now.
mm,
We're
mm.
just going to ride it out, guys, and find other
Well, you
ways
know,
to
and
promote.
the old statement goes, doesn't it? If the prime minister had been a female, we would have been open months before.
Probably, yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm not being funny, but
Yeah,
our industry, I think our industry prides ourselves on doing the right thing. I mean, I truly
yes,
believe that,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I think we as an industry could have opened earlier, purely and simply because we would have risen to the challenge. Whether you're a big
yeah,
salon or a small salon, we
yeah,
care about people. We are people's people. We are
yeah, yeah.
passionate about the well-being of people. So I
Mm,
do believe we as an industry would have risen to the challenges
yeah.
much, much sooner. But hey, listen, that's all in the past, isn't it?
It is, and I listen, guys. You know, I wish everyone out there
Mm,
who's worried about their businesses, stick with it,
mm,
make adjustments, get hold of your landlord, drop down the rents, drop down
yeah.
your taxes on it, and just ride it out. And
Mm,
you know, you will get there in the end.
mm.
Will. It's all going to be
Mm,
fun,
mm. We
and
will.
I
And,
wish
you
you
know,
all the
with,
luck.
and I think with the industry at the moment, you know, there's so many people from freelancers to salon owners, everybody's feeling it. And like you, Bev,
Yeah.
for me, it's been about reaching out, which is why I
Yes.
started my education in isolation
Yeah.
all those 23, 24 weeks ago. And I know you're the same. It's about reaching out and making
Yeah.
sure that people feel connected, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, what's been amazing is like people like yourself and iconic people out there sharing their ideas and coming up
Mm,
with a different way to
mm,
learn and a different
mm,
way to learn from you,
mm,
Patrick. And I just think it's quite amazing. And I think it's
mm,
going to be the new norm, to be honest. But it's been amazing to watch that in our
mm,
industry. And I've
mm,
seen so much of the work that you've been
mm,
doing behind the scenes and doing a lot of education online, and I think it's you know typical of how resilient we are and how we can adjust
mm,
creatively
mm, mm.
to you know what
I,
we've been
yeah,
facing.
I think you're right, and I think it is going to become part of the new norm. And of course,
Mm,
you and I know the value of hands-on education.
yes,
But what I personally believe, Bev, is that we're going to see a marriage of the two. We're going to see a
yeah,
marriage of the digital and a marriage of the hands-on. I think
yeah,
to really take you to over the edge to the final
mm,
completion of anything,
mm.
you need that hands-on experience. But a
You
lot of
do.
people are learning digital.
You do. Digital is going to be around for a little while, but the hands-on, you have to have the muscle memory,
Mm,
especially you know if you're doing long hair
mm,
or cutting or coloring. Muscle memory is key to that,
mm.
and that will all come back at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But yes, until then, it's digital all the way.
It's digital all the way. Well,
Yeah,
listen, Bev, it's been gorgeous talking to you. I've been really lucky because over the last 2 days, I've actually had a proper chat to you, which has been wonderful.
yeah,
Where we've really been able to hash around what's going on
yeah.
and what we're up to personally, both you and I.
Yes,
And
yeah, yeah,
and
totally.
honestly, my darling, I just wish you nothing but happiness. I'm going to say success, but happiness to me is what it's all about now. It really
It
has to
is.
be about that fulfillment and
Yes,
happiness.
and I want to thank you so much for inviting me to your lovely conversation with. It's been amazing. Patrick, you're a darling, and I wish you lots of luck over the next few months.
It's a
Keep in touch.
I will, I promise you. And please do tell Jordana I'm looking forward to talking to her
Yes,
and
I
getting
will
her
do.
take on what's happening in the industry. So Beverly
Yeah.
C, I want to say thank you so, so much, Beverly. Take care. Lots of
Take
love.
care.
Okay. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me and listening to Beverly's incredible stories. She's an amazing lady. I'm hoping that you're finding inspiration in what we're talking about and just listening to people's life stories, you know, and what they're up to now. So, from me here, a conversation with Patrick. Please tune in and see me on Monday. Remember, once again, for my education in isolation, tune in on Monday at 10:30 on Facebook and Instagram. Until then, we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 o'clock again, where I will have a conversation with Patrick. Lots and lots of love. Bye.